Hi, this is just going to be a sort of improvised tutorial. I got a question the other day. Somebody was trying to use one of my round robin scripts in their HISE project, but they couldn't get it to work, so they were asking me what they should do to get it running. And I had a look at the situation they were trying to use it in, and basically I said this script is way more than you need. It's got more features than you're after. You can do this in a much simpler way, and basically all they have is a drum kit with round robin recordings, multiple velocities, and they just want a random round robin. So I figured today we'll do a little video and we'll write a round robin script, and then I'm going to send this to them. So I haven't prepared anything for this. I'm just starting from scratch. Create a new project. Might as well do that for now. Desktop. Let's call it round robin. Right, so there's our new project. Do we need an interface? Not really. We need a sampler, so I'll add a sampler. And we'll need some samples, so let's find some samples. Percussion maybe. It doesn't really matter what we use. Yeah, let's use some percussion ones. Thumb piano, let's see what we've got in there. Samples. They're not very well organised. I'll just use some woodwind ones. It doesn't really matter for this as long as we have some round robin samples. So these staccato samples, I've got 3 round robins, so that'll do. And 3 different dynamics. So I should be able to map all these in one go. Sometimes HISE goes a bit weird, but I think you should be able to map them in one go. So let's have a look. That's going to be the note number, the dynamic. That's going to be a velocity spread. We're going to have the velocities over the dynamic spread over velocity. And the round robin, that's going to be the round robin group. So that should work, hopefully. 1, 2, 3. Yep, brilliant. Oh, these are multi-mic samples. I should have just brought in the close mics. Okay, let me do that again. I'm just going to bring the close mics because I forgot I had 3 mics for this. There we go. Okay, there we go. 3 sets there. I'll just save this preset. It'll give me a warning about embedded sample maps over here, but we don't need to worry about that. So let's just test this, make sure we've got some sound. That's too loud. And actually this won't be recording into the video, so let me just change it so hopefully you'll be able to hear directly what I can hear. I guess it'll be this one. And into this one here. Is that one? Okay, I'm not planning on editing this video, so I'm just doing everything on the fly. Let's see if that works. Oh, well, you can just hear it through my speakers, coming out my speakers and into the mic. That'll be alright. Right, so hopefully... Actually, I will try it again because it would be better if you can hear it the same as I can. Sorry about this. Wonder why that's not working. These all enabled? They're all enabled. Right. That goes into there, that goes into there. So it wasn't that one. Let's try this one. That's the one. Okay. I'll let's see, those ones disconnected. Yeah, disconnect. Okay, so you guys should be able to hear now what I'm hearing. You're also going to hear it coming through my mic now, so that's not going to be good. I'm going to plug my headphones in. 1 second, guys. Okay, I have headphones on now, so that should all be fine now. Yeah. Okay, so when I press a key that's got one of these samples mapped, we've actually got three groups of samples, sorry. So this is going to go through those three groups. So hopefully you could hear the variations there. Let's turn the release up a bit. And if we have a look in the in this view, I think, does it highlight the groups? No, it doesn't actually show us which group, but anyway, the three groups have been triggered one after another. That's the default round robin behavior in HISE. So you can see here it says 3 RR groups, and yeah, that's it. So if you've got three groups and they're not being used for crossfades, because you can enable group crossfades, so as long as the group crossfades is disabled, the default round robin behavior will trigger, which is just one after another. But we don't want that. We need it so that the groups are triggered randomly. So we're going to write a little script for this. So I'm going to go to I'm going to add a MIDI processor in the sampler. So it's actually in the sampler module. We can hide that for now. This is our script. Let's go to the script editor. Now the first thing we need to do is disable the default round robin behavior. So if I just type round in there, there it is, enable round robin. So we need to get a handle on the sampler. So I'm going to right click on the sampler and create script variable declaration and paste that into the script. So there's our sampler. And if you've got more than one sampler, you need to do this for each sampler, or you can just duplicate this script into each sampler. So we're going to say sampler1.enable round robin, and I think, let's see, yeah, we've got to give it a Boolean value, so we're going to say false. And I'm hitting F5, function not found. Did I misspell that? Sampler. Oh, we've got to do sampler, because I've shown this in another video, but when you right click on here and go create script variable declaration, it gets the sampler, but it gets it as a child synth, not as a sampler. So the functions that are available in the sampler section aren't available because it sees it as a synth and not a sampler. So you have to do dot as sampler. Okay, now I'm just going to press a key and we should hear 3 notes trigger at once. And I don't know if you will see up here because it's really quite small even on my screen, but the number of voices, it should say 3 when I just press one key. Okay, that says 1, that's weird. Why didn't it say 3? Oh, yeah. Okay, it doesn't say 3, it defaults to the group 0. I'm confusing it with contact, where if you have it not disabling any groups, it plays all of them at once. So yeah, sorry, it's just playing the first group, so that's okay. And we can actually see that if I click on a sample in the first group, we should be able to see that in the waveform view. Let me just find the right sample. Let's try that one. So we can see the playback cursor, and there it goes again. It's always playing back the same sample. Okay, that was a different sample because I played a different velocity. There we go. So now what we need to do is we need to enable just the group we want, and it's going to be a random group. So we're going to do this in the onNote callback, and I've got to remember what the function is here, so I'm just going to type in group. So this is it, set active group, and if we right click, it says enables the group with the given index 1 based. That means the first group has an index of 1, not 0. Works only with samplers, and enable round robin false. So we've already done that part, so we'll just go sampler1 dot as sampler dot set active group, and we're going to put the group number in here, so that'll be group num. So to get the group num, we're going to declare a local variable, and this is going to be, we're going to use the maths random function here. So if I type in math, we get all the math functions. math. Why is it always math? It should be maths. There's more than one. RandInt. That's the one we want. So that's going to give us a random integer. So we're going to go Math.randInt. And we've got 3 groups, but they start on 1, so it's going to be between 1 and 3. And that should do it, I think. Let me just, I want to print this out. So down here in the console, we're going to be able to see which group triggers. So this should tell us. Ignore that, that's just an autosave error message. So that's working, so that's just a random round robin, and that's basically how you do it. If you want it to also do random on the release, if you've got release trigger samples and you want those to be random, you can just do the same thing, but put those in the on note off callback, and you'll get random notes off as well, or random groups when the note is released. One thing I'm just going to test while you guys are here, because I don't use this much, is I want to see if we can enable 2 groups at once. I've never actually tried that. So, but I'm sure this is something some of you will be interested in, and I'm just interested to know. So I'm just going to enable group 1 and 2 at the same time, or I'll see if I can, because this function set active group implies that you can only have 1 group active. So there's 1 and 2. And I'm going to look up here at the voices, and I expect to see it say 2 voices if this has worked. Now it still says 1, so I'm guessing it's just enabling group 2. So I don't know how you'd enable more than 1 group at a time if that was something you wanted. But if I find out, I will let you know. Let's see, change that. So one last thing, we've got this hard coded to be 3 round robin groups, but I think the guy who I'm writing this for, he's actually got 4 groups, but you might have a varying number of groups. So we're going to write a little interface just with a knob to choose the number of groups. Alright, we could also use this get RR groups a message function, but I'm not going to do that. I like to just put a knob on the interface and then you can set it to what you want. So the first thing we need to do, you might notice over here the interface is just not there, so we need to give it a width. So it's content dot, I think it's just set width. So it's 600. There we go, we have some width. We'll give it a height. Okay. The reason that didn't change is because I just set the height to 50, which is what the default is. If I put like 150 in there, then it'll change. So we'll just have that as 50, and then we're just going to add a knob to the interface. Now I'm not doing this in the interface designer. When I'm doing a script that isn't for the main interface, I tend to just do it all programmatically. So that means I'm adding the knobs and the buttons or whatever controls through scripting. And the main reason I do that is if I want to give this script to somebody else, I don't want them to have to build the interface as well in the in the interface designer. I just want it to work out the box. So this is one of the times when I won't use the interface designer to build the interface. So we're going to need a knob called, what should we call it? Num round robins, I guess. That's not a very interesting name. We'll call it knob groups equals content.add knob, and then the position is going to be just 0, 0. And am I doing this right? I haven't done it programmatically for a while. Let's see. It's a slider actually, isn't it? Not a knob. Slider is the command. Add slider. Is it slider? Add slider pack. Oh, maybe it is knob. Add knob. Oh, it is knob. The control, all the other functions for knobs go under the heading of script sliders, but to actually add it, it's a knob. So, right, the name has to go first. You can see it's been a while since I've done this. Groups. Again, this should appear on the interface when I hit F5. Don't worry about that error message. That's just because I haven't declared it as a variable. There we go, const var. So there's our groups. Now this is going from 0 to 1, we need to set the range. So can be groups.setRange, and it's going to go from 1 to, what's the maximum amount of round robin groups you're ever going to have? Let's put 50. Nobody's going to have more than 50. And we want it to have a step of 1. So that's that. So go 1 to all the way up to 50. Good. That's all we need for that. Oh, we can change the text because that's not very nice text. So groups.setText. I don't need to put num there, do we? It's obvious it's a number. There we go. So you can say how many round robin groups. Yeah, let's put RR. So how many round robin groups do you have? You can enter it with that. And then in onNode, in our random, where we're getting the random integer, instead of 3, we just want to get the knob value. So can be groups.get value. Hit F5. And now this is set to 41, and obviously there are not 41 groups, so it's going to give us an error. There we go. 9 is not a valid group index. So I'm not going to put any error checking in for that. Because if I'm checking how many groups there are, I might as well not have this knob anyway. I could just use the number of groups that are there. But of course, you may not want to use the full number of groups. If you've got 3 groups, you may decide you only want to use 2 of them. Or you may want to give the user control over this knob, so the user can choose how many round robins to actually make use of. So so I'll set that to 3, and it should just work. Oh, let's have a look as well. So you can see in the console which groups are being triggered. And remember, it's completely random, so you may get the same group twice in a row. I see a lot of people see, when they see a random round robin script, and then they see it triggers the same group like 3 times, they say, well, that's not random. But of course it is completely random. Random means it can be any of them. What a lot of people want is where it won't trigger the same group twice in a row, or it'll do a cycle, so it'll select from the number of groups it'll select from randomly, but it won't repeat a group until it's played all of them. So it feels more random, but it's actually not random. And those are more complicated scripts. You have to have other variables to keep a record of which is the previous groups and stuff like that, and there's various ways of achieving that, and I might do that in another video. But as a basic just random round robin, this is all you need. Right guys, so I'm gonna send this off to the person who asked for this, and I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.